are back and moving into our second conversation for today. We're joined at this time by the administrator of the Welcome Resource Center, Joyce Ellis, and we also have the chair of the Welcome Resource Center, Kathy Esquivel. And I want to say good morning and congratulations as you approach your 6th anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. When we opened, it was a bit like jumping off a cliff and just hoping your parachute would open. But it is opening.
There was a healthy amount of optimism that worked out in your favor.
Yeah.
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 Now, it's important to understand why the Resource Center was established. And I want to go back to that. It was an initiative through the Mental Health Association, which is an NGO.
Yes.
To create a space for people who were homeless or people who were struggling with mental health issues.
And that includes substance abuse.
Yes.
And because, well, we think that the Ministry of Health is actually doing a very good job. Of course, there's always more that can be done. But the Ministry of Health has a very good mental health unit. We have trained psychiatric nurse practitioners. We now have 3 psychiatrists in the country, when up until recently there was only 1 and sometimes none. You know, if that one was on vacation or whatever. And so we think the Ministry of Health is doing a good job, but people often need more than medicine.
Yes.
They need, and especially the population we deal with, they often don't have social support. Very often they can't work, so they have no income. Either they have no family or they've lost contact with their family. So basically the idea is to provide social support.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things about the Welcome Center is the approach that we take to persons with mental illness. The society on a whole sometimes just forgets that we have a population who are struggling with this issue. And then when we do get, when the mental health population does get some attention, it's very negative. We've seen over the past year, over the past 6 months at least, repeated incidents of persons who have mental disabilities. We had Mr. Crown, who's, I heard on the news that his family was saying that he was struggling with it. We had the prisoner who was incarcerated, who actually assaulted a nurse and then ended up killing someone else. We've had the issue of the bulldozer guy. But there is a space in terms of the way that the Mental Health Association approaches persons who have this illness, which is not to institutionalize the ones that... Could you kindly discuss that a little, because I think it's very important.
Well, you know, you've mentioned 3 cases, and they are tragic, and we do need to find ways to deal with that. But that's 3 cases out of hundreds, maybe thousands. And so what we want to stress is that most people with mental health issues pose absolutely no danger to anyone else. Sometimes a danger to themselves, because, for instance, the percentage of people attempting suicide is much higher amongst people, so that is a danger to themselves. But everybody deserves to be treated with respect. Some people do have to be restrained. We're not saying everybody should just run wild, but the vast majority of people can live productive, quality lives to some extent. So we just want to help people live to the best that they can live.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And we were so lucky to find my friend Joyce here. Joyce, tell us your philosophy.
For me, compliance with medication is important when it comes to mental illness, because we have seen it firsthand at our center. Most of our participants that are there are in compliance with medication, and for the most part they have been there for the entire 6 years, and we had no incident at all with them. But with that, we are able to monitor what triggers them and when the emotions change, and we find out that, you know what, we could actually refer them to the mental health center at Port, or we could just pull them aside and do a little discussion with them, find out what is happening, and it's an outlet.
Yeah.
When it comes to the participant that we serve, family involvement is very much important, which is not there. So we try our best to get them involved back with their family. It doesn't have to be at 100%, but we need to start somewhere in terms of getting them in touch with their family at least once or twice a month. It all depends.
Joyce, you know, I think the Welcome Center is such a bright spot in what we do here in Belize, and we don't talk about it as much. But we're so happy you're here and celebrating your anniversary after a lot of fundraising efforts to even get the building up. You have people with mental health illnesses, substance abuse, which is a mental health illness, and some people who perhaps are deported, homeless, and elderly with nowhere to go during the day, just coming to the center to hang out for the day. I've been there a few times. You have a good number of people there each time, which means there's a reason to come back. What do you think is the attraction that they have in going there and even being compliant with medicine when they get there?
For the treatment, they're not being treated differently. They're not forced to do things that they are not supposed to do. Well, what we do an orientation with them. And we use the participants themselves to do the orientation with the new persons that come. So they will be compliant with the rules because it comes from their peers.
Yeah.
It's similar to what you will do in the classroom. Together you create the rules and compliance is good.
So they come up with their own rules of engagement there.
Initially when we opened, we had what we thought would have worked for them. After a couple of months, we sat and we had a meeting with them. What is working, what is not working, how would you want to see this happen? And then they gave their input. And so with that, we come up with rules based on what they prefer and what is the right thing to do.
Some people look at that and say, man, that's a little bit crazy that you're looking at persons who have a mental health issue and sitting with them and coming up with rules. But I wanted you to talk about the fact that they're human beings who are quite functional.
For the most part, it's just like we normally say, if you're having a flu or if you have diabetes, whatever you have, with medication you could manage. So they're not going through any crisis at the time, so we could have a rational discussion with them and we come up with what is needed.
And with a lot of structure, because they clean the place, they keep it clean.
They keep it clean.
And they also, you still have the laundromat?
Yes, we do.
They also work in the laundromat itself.
And the recycling.
Okay. So tell us about these other programs, because, you know, I think where Kevin is right, some people may say, well, what do you do if you know, your participants are the one like if the kids go to school and make the rules for themselves, it seems like such a groundbreaking idea, which would actually be more effective in schools.
You find that when you do that, they're actually stricter than, you know, sometimes they want stricter rules.
Ideally, you should have have kids make their own consequences, but we're not quite there yet.
But well, you have to be careful because they might, as I say, they might say chop off their heads. But it's not that they're running the place, but that's why they're participants. They're not patients. That they are part, and it's their center. Yes, there's a structure. Yes, you have people there to help you. So I think that helps. They really, people feel like it's theirs, and they have a stake in it. It makes a huge difference.
I do want to talk about those programs though, like your laundromat, your recycling program.
How the recycling program was somewhat interesting because we had the idea of collecting the bottles, and we just collect the bottles and we have them mash it and then we just pack it. One of the participants said to us, you know, you need to pack them by hundreds and fifties and by, if it's Fanta, if it's Sprite, and we go, oh, okay then. So you be in charge of supervising when that is supposed to take place. Of lately, we are collecting the caps because we give it back to Radisson to do chemo for children.
Yeah. They have a collection program. Yeah.
There's a collection program that goes through someone in Orange Walk to Mexico, that if you for a certain number of caps, you get
free chemo for
you get some.
Wow.
Yeah. So yes, if you have bottle caps, you can give them to us or give them directly to Radisson.
So, because we usually have meeting with our participants every month, so that we could address their needs, things that need to be fixed, and even we offer them the opportunity to critique the staff. Their likes, their dislikes. If someone had offended you, let us. And hence the reason why we don't have problems at the center, because we try to deal with it as is.
Shared space.
And so that's one of our things, collecting the bottles. We have the laundromat where they actually would fold and sort clothes. And besides that, we want to do a gardening. We are only going to grow like tomatoes, onions, sweet pepper, cilantro, things that could grow on top soil.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to work on a garden.
And we're very excited that we have been successful in getting a Jesuit volunteer assigned to us. And she will come in August. And she has a very nice CV. So we're hoping that actually one of the thing we want her to do most is to develop the income generation.
Yeah.
Not income generation for the center, but for the participants. So it would be a way for participants to do something to earn money for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's a stretch with only really Joyce and an assistant to deal with all of that. But we're hoping now that we will have a volunteer that she will, and she has a very nice CV.
Yes,
it looks like it's someone that can really do it.
Yeah.
You know, Ms. Cathy and Joyce, and I have to start by saying how much appreciative I am, and I hope the rest of the country is, for the work that you've consistently done over these years, your dedication to it.
Well, I'm half light, so I have to work on things like that.
Has been, and I don't want to downplay it because it's a very important work.
Yeah.
And you know, the dark side of it really is that there might be people out there who don't say it, but might think, okay, Miss Cathy and Joyce, they have discovered. And we continue to forget. We pass them on the street. We have a family member who's struggling with mental health issues. And we just, in dealing with daily life, we just completely forget about it. And we hope that Ms. Cathy and Joyce and Welcome Center, that will not deal with it. That's no problem. I wanted you to appeal or speak to the social responsibility and the support that we need for this vulnerable population.
Well, that's true. And actually, one of the things we have quite a few corporate supporters, and we've gotten more. And what we try to encourage is that they don't just give us money, although we'll always accept money. But like Radisson recently, we went to see them and they said, oh, you know, sometimes we go out and give breakfast to people on the street. And we said, no, come and do it at the center. So now twice a month, they come to the center and they actually also serve it. And so they become a part of it. BEL, when they give, they often send people to actually participate and do something. So we do encourage corporate sponsors that if you're giving, yes, it's wonderful to give, but if you can also spend a little time with us so that you yourself see the humanity in other people, because that's very important, that it's not just somebody on the street. You know, some people are easier to help than others. We are trying to expand, which is why we've been on a push. So we're hoping to, I mean, breakfast twice a month is nice, but we're trying to get other sponsors to have other breakfasts.
I was going to ask though, how are you doing in terms of sustainability? Because the Mental Health Association is a NGO. The Welcome Center, which is
an NGO,
is a not-for-profit. You don't make any money.
No.
And so you rely almost exclusively on donations. Is that where we are?
Yes.
Do you get a subvention? Do you have dedicated donors? How are you doing in terms of sustainability?
Well, Ministry of Health pays 2 salaries,
Okay.
Joyce and 1 other salary.
Okay.
Mental Health Association through fundraising pays 1 salary.
Okay.
Well, half a salary, because that person also does some work for the Mental Health Association. Ministry of Human Development, through the official charities, we get a small subvention.
Okay.
But yes, the rest of it is what people, various organizations, the Mennonite community are very helpful in terms of regular food donations.
So you're providing a bath, which is it's amazing. You know, they go in there, they clean up, they pick out their clothes, what they want to wear for the day.
Yeah.
Get from deodorant to every essential that they need there. Clean up. They get meals. They get their drinks during the day, and they can watch TV, read books, whatnot. Those are all based on donations.
Yes.
Yes. And so we're hoping to be able to expand the breakfast program. We started with Mondays because we're not open over the weekend.
Yeah.
We recognize this is a problem. So Monday morning, there's actually a lot of people who need breakfast.
Yeah.
So, and then we're also trying to expand to an afternoon snack, because again, once people have had their meal in the afternoon, sometimes they need to go because they got to hustle something for the evening. So if we could provide a substantial evening snack, and we're encouraging the business community, help us give people an afternoon snack. And then the people that you don't want hanging around outside your business begging will not be there, because they'll be having their afternoon snack with us. So hand wash hand, help us to help you.
Yeah, it's 6 years of consistent work, and I guess
6 years.
the Mental Health Association and the work of the Welcome Center, it's kind of like the police. You know, we don't hear about the work until we realize where we could have assisted more. There are 2 things that I'm aware of that are challenges right now. One is transportation.
Yeah.
And 2 is men's clothes.
Yes.
Men clothing.
Yes.
Well, that's been since day one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about those 2 areas?
Yeah.
Why we think the transportation is important, because our first year when we opened, we had it for like a year and 6 months with the transportation. Our numbers were actually like 55 daily and things like that, because we could have bused them one way and they find their way back. Our population is predominantly male, so we need male clothing. And for the most part, after the meals finish with the clothes, you can't wash them. They can't be reused.
Yeah.
And we have less females, so we have, like, I would say, enough female clothing, but not to say that we don't need more.
But you need men's clothes.
But we need men
and we make
clothing.
that appeal every time. I hope people are hearing and they do come in and bring some stuff.
Yeah, they
Yes.
do, but we always need more.
Yeah.
And if people want to donate, they might not think about it, but some kinds of men's clothing we never get. For instance, people don't give us used brief.
Underwear,
Used underwear, because I mean,
It's,
you know, if
But
it's
we can
used,
donate
you're
a
not going
pack.
to use
Yeah, you
it.
could donate a
But
pack.
if you want to donate a pack of underwear,
You could
we'd-
do that.
you know, because people appreciate that, male and female, but mainly male. But yes, if you're cleaning out your closet, or your significant other is cleaning out your closet for you, yes, please, you can drop it off at the center. You can drop it off at me in the city, Price and Company, and we'll get it there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do appreciate that.
Why are there more male participants?
Because by nature, female are caregivers, and even it reflects itself even on the staff. We have 4 female, 1 male staff. And it's very difficult to get a male that is compassionate and caring and don't want to be like rough and tough. And so it has to be that you should be able to talk to the participant the way you want to be treated and things like that. So we not get males like that. And when we get families to come in to just sit and spend time, we get stories like, you see how you behave here? You not behave so who? They say the man, they say them. I said, but no, we not get that here. You see the families, they literally cry because they're like,
It's a different person.
It's a totally different person. So I would say, take him on the weekend, man. And then I would get calls on the weekend like, oh, he was okay this weekend and things like that. But for the most part, they don't want to spend that time.
So it's really the absence of. Let me put it in an unkind way. Some of it is the fact that men are not participating in the lives of their families.
Right.
And so this is the chicken coming home to roost. That when they need their families, no, the families
there's
saying,
no relationship.
There's
So they're
no
reaping what they're sowing.
relationship. And this is true throughout. It's not
Even
special
with
to
elderly
Belize. And it's not necessarily, it's a whole system of things. I think like in Belize, a lot of it is economic, in that if a man cannot provide for a family, he can't take it. And so the easiest thing to do is walk out.
Abandonment.
And so sometimes the abandonment is because he just couldn't take it. And there are other reasons. But again, as you say, if you have not been involved with a family, then when you really need them, they're not there for you. So what you put in life is what you get out. But we're not here to judge our participants and say, well, if you may undo this and that. No, it is what it is. You are here. If we can help you reconnect with your family, we will. But basically, we're not here to judge what you did or didn't do. But yes, in a sociological sense, it's basically a lot of these people have not really been a part of their family.
So you talked about 2 ways that people can help. Donating men's clothes, you talked about offering food, transportation, or funding that can help with transportation. What's the next goal in sight for the Mental Health Association and the Welcome Resource Center?
One of our next goal is we want to be able to provide at least 3 meals Monday to Friday.
What are you doing right now, so we know how far you have to go?
What are we doing right now? We have every other Monday, we offer the breakfast. On certain days of the week, what the staff have, they will bring, we pull it together, and they have breakfast at least 3 times in the morning with what we bring from home. Another thing,
3 times in the month or week?
In the week.
Okay.
Another thing that we are looking at is to put the top, to do some sort of income generation for the resource center.
The second floor in the building.
The second floor.
Yeah.
We have one upcoming event that I would like to highlight right now. On the 20th of July, we will be having a bingo and wings.
Nice.
So it's from 3 till 6, the 20th of July.
Which is a Saturday.
Which is a Saturday. And so we will be able to play 3 bingo games, and we will offer wings, stuffed pepper, a juice.
Thing happen, man.
Yeah.
And this will be for $20, and you will win little prizes. But
And it's a fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser. 3 till 6, July 20th.
Yeah. You also have 2 major fundraisers in October.
Yeah.
You have your banquet, and last year you started your sleep out.
Yes.
And we're sticking with those.
Your first sleep out was successful.
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, we were really lucky with the weather. It was the only day that week it didn't rain. And we were thinking of changing the dates, but when we looked it up internationally, actually International Homelessness Day is October the 10th, which is the same as World Mental Health Day. So we'll probably stay with October, but we will, well, we'll have things in place. And what we're thinking this year...
It adds a realistic dimension, though.
Yeah. What we're thinking, we had quite a few schools participating, but what we were thinking, and we've consulted with a few schools, that some schools would do it on their own and have the sleep out for students at their premises under their supervision, and then just donate the proceeds, because and then the students get that's like community service, so they get a community service recognition.
I remember doing this story, and I still think it's an absolutely great idea. I wasn't here, but I did have some friends who participated, and they admitted that it was a lot. It seemed like a cool thing to do, but it was a lot harder than people thought. Sleeping on a cardboard, being outdoors, you know, just without the amenities that we have all become so used to.
Actually, one thing we did provide was we had porta potties, we had toilet facilities, which is one thing the homeless don't have. But we obviously had to provide it. But without that, that's when you really realize how difficult it can be. You want to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
You know, the issue of mental health in this country is, to me, one of the most important issues, because it is not something that you see, and it's something that we all are affected by.
Absolutely.
On some level or the other, whether or not it's our own stress or our own anxiety, we daily struggle. There are some of us who are competent in dealing with the issues, but there are others who aren't. But as a country, health on a whole is something that we don't put our national budget towards. And then if you consider we put this amount to health on a whole, and mental health is a component of that, you can imagine what we're spending on the mental health of our citizens from time immemorial. How much more pressure do you think it puts on the average citizen to see the importance of this, to themselves go in their pocket and take out that $5 or $10 to make sure they reach out to Joyce and to you to buy a barbecue ticket, to come to the bingo game? How much more importance I put on it that we have a struggle nationally that we're unable to reach out to one of the most vulnerable populations that there is?
Well, and I think also, apart from that, people need to put more emphasis on looking after their own mental health. Because mental health is more than the people that you tend to think of, which is people with serious psychoses.
They're the minority.
But they're the minority. You have depression, you have anxiety, you have all kinds of other mental health issues, you have substance abuse. And so I think we'd like to encourage people to also look after their own mental health and also the mental health of those people around them. It is important. People will always query how much money you spend on this or that. There's only so much to go around. The biggest part, I think, of the budget is education. But health does receive the money. And obviously, we have to lobby to make sure mental health gets its share. But I think most importantly is for people to look after their own mental health, look after the mental health of those around them, and to use the services that are there. Because one of the things is there are services available that people are not using. So there's a psychiatric nurse practitioner in every district at the hospitals. There are psychiatrists,
there's a counseling center on
there's a counseling center.
Road,
So we'd encourage people, because there's a stigma, and nowadays there's a lot of fully qualified psychologists who are practicing privately. So we encourage people to try and forget about that stigma and well, can't tell anyone about that, you know. at one time people wouldn't mention the word cancer. And so people died because nobody diagnosed it, nobody talked about it. So I think in the same way, we need to talk about mental health. We need to try and get away from the stigma.
Yeah.
And we need to ask for assistance when we need it.
Yeah.
You know,
Can we
yesterday I was passing a gentleman who I know is mentally ill, and he was outside of Brody's, and the pharmacist came out and gave him some Benadryl. And they were talking, and I stood down in the distance and I watched him. And what was important to me in that exchange was not only it was a very young pharmacist that came out and spoke to him, and he spoke to him in a way that was so kind. You know, you could see these people, a lot of persons who we see are vagrants and around and struggling, they're adults, they're adults, they're competent adults. And you could see the dignity exchange. But the aspect for me that was also important was that not only do I suffer from a mental illness, but sometimes I have physical ailments. You have a cold, where do I go, what do I do? And it's just going back to your whole issue of looking at everyone as human beings. And I think, I don't know if we're properly doing that right now as a country.
Well,
That's a conversation for...
everybody has to look, you know, before we start pointing at other people, what we all need to do is think about what we personally, even if we don't give money to people on the street, which is not always a good idea to do, but if we at least recognize their humanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's where I wanted to close, just because it is your 6th anniversary and you are fundraising. It's always a great idea for people to stop in and perhaps donate some food, men's clothing, whatever they can to help.
Volunteer.
Talk to us about how to get in touch with you and just what they can do to come and spend some time with your participants.
You could get in touch with us at 202-2511. We also have a Facebook page, Welcome Resource Center. We also have a website, welcomeresourcecenter.bz. We're located on Vernon Street. It's the last building on Vernon Street. Green building, you can't last it. And Marlene and Kevin, I want to take this opportunity to applaud the staff. I mean, every time it's media coverage, you see Miss Ellis, but the staff, the other staff members are actually the ones that actually carry the burden of taking care of the participants while I am out, while I am doing all the begging and everything. They're the ones who actually execute what what need to get done. So I like to say a public thank you to my staff.
Absolutely.
Miss Riva Ellis, she's the cook. She has been there since day one with us. And then we have Miss Ines Dugal. She's an attendant. We have Mr. Noel Garcia, an attendant. And of course, the assistant who has been with us for a year now, Ms. Shirley Salgado.
Awesome.
Nice.
And we'd also just like to ask anyone, there are groups that sometimes go out and feed people or whatever. We'd like to encourage them, contact us. You can use our center, even for a weekend, we can open up. And don't worry, once we tell people, word gets around. There's an underground communication. Use our center. Don't feed people out on the street. Again, that's not very dignified. So please feel free, come and use the center, and we'd love to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and congrats on the anniversary, and we hope more people will support the work